And on his bed, laying on the bed, is a silver shotgun that he had there. People are coming in here in 5 minutes. I don't know what to do with this thing. I'm not like a gun guy necessarily. And then I'm down in the foyer with the other person I was in the open house with, and he says like, "Hey fellas." And then we look upstairs. He's holding the shotgun at us and does a fake like bang bang. And we like dive out of the way because we're already freaked out by this guy, and he starts laughing hysterically.
What? Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Behind the Lockbox. I'm Stephanie Zalowski. I'm not really sure how I pulled this off today, but I have the one, the only, Eric Simon, a.k.a. the Broke Agent, with us today. What's up, Eric?
How you doing? Excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. Okay, guys, Eric started, if you don't know and you've been living under a rock, Eric started the Broke Agent account back in 2015, mostly as a way to cope with this business that we all love. Since then, he has scaled that account to over 500,000 followers and started Broke Agent Media, aka BAM. I've been a follower of Eric since about 2019, and I belong to BAMX, which we'll get into that in a little bit. When I cold texted Eric, I basically forced him onto the podcast and said, "Does 2 p.m. work for you?" And he quickly said, "What would work for me is to not do this at all. JK. But that's what we love about him, his dry sense of humor and his self-deprecating ways. Eric, aka Broke Agent, welcome to Behind the Lockbox.
That was a funny text, right? You said
It was. And again,
what would work best for me is to not do this.
At all. And I basically like forced you on the way that Paige forced you onto our team call, and then put it out on social media that like you were going to be doing this, but never even checked with you first, you know.
Look, I am honored to be here. I started a podcast in 2020. I know how hard it is to get guests. And I like that you gave me a specific time. Yeah. That's so much better than when works for you. So it's just like, okay, here's the day, here's the time. Yeah. Looked at my schedule, here it is. And
you were quick, by the way. Paige took me like, I just got her scheduled for this Thursday. And she's like, oh shit, I never responded. And I'm like, Eric's coming on Tuesday, but it's okay, Paige. Yeah.
Classic Paige.
Classic Paige.
Paige is awesome. She's done a ton of favors for BAM. And of course, I want to go on her mastermind also.
Of course. I love her so much. And I actually... This was kind of further down the line, but we'll talk about this for a second. So we'll talk about BAM, and I kind of want everyone to kind of know a little bit about that. But I met Paige at BAM Mania last October.
Nice. Yeah.
And Jason Cassidy, I'm here in San Diego, so I know Jason well. And, we were kind of chatting a little bit about, I had just left my team, and I was like at Compass, which I know you're still at Compass, correct? Technically.
Yeah, they have no idea I'm there, but I am technically
do they know? Like, I don't know
thankfully,
if they know.
This is the first year that I'm just a referral agent, so I'm not paying E&O insurance, which I was doing for years.
Dude, I actually thought about that this morning for some reason, because I think it was on the walkthrough, recently, something came up, and they were like, yeah, you're still at Compass. And I was like, why is he at Compass? If like, you know what I mean? Just because like, I thought about E&O and like all of the fees you have to pay. So
I'm just losing money every year.
It's cool. It's fine. It's whatever, But anyway, okay. So again, thank you so much for being here. I know normally I told you the premise of this podcast is like we get all of our agent friends on to tell wild and crazy and hilarious and unhinged stories about things that happen to us in this business. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about like what you've done for the real estate industry. By the way, my mom follows you, and I told her last night you were going to be on. She's like, tell him I'm a fan. And I was like, Mom, I will. So like, you're not getting just real estate people. I just want you to know that.
Good. Yeah. Hopefully the umbrella is a little bit larger at this point and is encompassing salespeople, title, mortgage. Anyone that's bought or sold a house at some point will find value in it.
100%. I agree. How long had you been doing real estate before like Broke Agent took off? A year. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't get my license until 2014, but in 2013, I started as the receptionist at a brokerage called Hilton Hyland in Beverly Hills.
I know it well,
It was just supposed to be a temporary receptionist position for a week.
Okay.
I just quit my job at the Laugh Factory. I spent 6 months blogging and trying to get Vine famous. Do you remember Vine? The 6
yes,
second
I
video
do.
That's kind of my first attempt at content. So I wrote for a sports blog, and by wrote for a blog, I mean I wrote for my own blog. It was called the Pudgy Caddy, and it was kind of it was sports plus what it was like to go out in Los Angeles as a young 20-30-year-old post-grad. Then this girl that I knew that worked at Hilton Hyland said, hey, I see that you're unemployed and acting like an idiot online. Why don't you become the receptionist at this brokerage for a week? I did it. I ended up doing it for 6 months and then got hired as a marketing assistant under a top agent there, and then eventually got my license and became a buyer's agent. So that's how I got into this business.
That's amazing. I mean, literally fell in, so.
Yes.
Were you trying to be a stand-up comic at the Laugh Factory?
No, absolutely not. I was in their marketing department. I was the marketing assistant, but I was posting on social media for them.
So content is like, I mean, it's been
embedded.
Yes, 100%. And did you go to U of A?
I went to U of A my freshman year and then transferred to USC my sophomore year.
Okay, that's right. Because that day you had called me from when we were doing, remember BAM Mania was going to be in DC, right? And
Yes.
then you guys moved to Vegas. And I saw like a Tucson number calling, and then I was like, wait, are you from, like, what's happening? You're like, no. I was just like there for a stint, But
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm from Tucson.
You are?
I'm born and raised in Tucson.
Did we talk about that? Maybe we did. Did you go to high school there?
Yeah, Carolina Foothills.
Oh my God, no way. So I was born in Tucson, but we moved up to Chandler when I was 5 or 6. And so I was raised in like the Phoenix area. So
Got it. Okay, so you're a Zona.
Yeah.
Zony.
100%. I've been here 15 years. Does that count to like not be a Zony anymore?
I think so. I think
Okay,
you
good.
graduated from
Because
it.
like I see their license plates. I'm like, no. There's
Sign
only
you.
room for one here right now. She's already here. Like,
Yeah.
move out of my way. Anyway, yeah, especially when they're driving slow down the 5. Don't get me started.
Exactly.
Okay, so and let's talk about why you started Broke
Yeah.
Agent. So like you had been in a year. Were you feeling like disgruntled from the business, or were you just trying to like just do something like I hit record, but before we really started the show, I was telling you why I started the podcast. And it was really because I needed something creative for myself to do. You know what I mean? Where I just needed a space to like share with my friends about this crazy business that if you're not in it, like you don't fully understand. You know what I mean? So is that kind of why you started?
A combination of things. I truthfully never thought that I was going to be a real estate agent 10 years from when I started. I did not think being a real estate agent was fun, cool, or did I think that I was good at it. I was. This is 2015, so this is before social media was such a prominent way to actually build a brand and capture leads
100%.
for real estate agents.
Yeah.
If it was today, I think I would actually excel in it because obviously that's my forte and my passion. But back then it was, and it still is, of course, but I was cold calling every single day I would get into the office from 8 a.m. to 12. We would use something called Land Voice, pull these numbers and basically call expired or canceled listings.
Yeah.
And I was sitting back to back with this guy who was from Australia who had an amazing accent who just crushed it on the phone. And I was praying to God that nobody would pick up the phone because I had no idea what to say. Then my bosses would sometimes be in, they would sometimes be out. And I was nervous when they were in the office, but I also kind of wanted guidance as what the hell should I actually say on these calls because my whole goal was to
Did they
book
not give
them
you any?
appointments. They gave me a couple scripts at the beginning.
Okay.
But that was really
which-
it. It was never, hey, you should ask this follow-up question. But it was on me. I was not good at this.
Yeah.
And then in the afternoon, we would map out from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock where we would drop off the expired listing packages. So that was the door knocking side of it. So we'd cold call these places. If they picked up, we'd go door knock their house immediately, or we would just door knock any house that my boss said, like, hey, this listing just expired. Go
knock on,
sit outside. And me and this Australian guy, his name was Neil, great guy, but we would, do the
creepily
same thing
sit out front.
creepily sit out front, wait for a homeowner to get home, knock on their door. This is in Beverly Hills where, the houses are $20 million, $10 million in Bel Air. And I have no business. I'm 24 years old. I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know what to say to people.
Yeah.
So it was extremely uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
I went to a Tom Ferry conference and kind of saw that side of it, which back then was kind of more the raw, salesy scripts, listing presentation. I mean, it was an amazing conference. But it wasn't as, social media forward as everything like that is now. So I felt.
Is that what they are now? So I did it in 2017 with Tom Ferry and it was still very raw scripty and it was just like, it was not for me. So I was out.
They've evolved completely.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
They knock it out of the park with that. But basically I started the Broke Agent because I initially was going to do marketing for my partner at the time, this guy named Wes Pinkston. He wanted to create websites for real estate agents. And he said, let's do a blog around it to, get gin up interest and then we could sell, agent websites to people. And I said, can we make it a funny blog? Let's call it The Broke Agent, and went and downloaded thebrokeagent.com or got it on GoDaddy and then just got the handle The Broke Agent across all platforms. But back then the initial goal was create the College Humor of real estate or the Funny or Die or the Barstool Sports of real estate because visiting a blog in 2015, that's where the excitement was. It wasn't necessarily on social media yet.
It's true.
Social media was just to get people to eventually go to the blog.
Yeah. I mean, blogging was big back then for sure. And that was kind of the age of like where the influencers were starting, right? Like they were, influencers today are definitely like on social doing all the things across all platforms. But back then it really was like a website where they were actually blogging and like, people were going to their sites and reading all their stuff. And so, yeah.
Exactly.
That's
It was like, I spent a lot of time doing the 5 things to do while you're bored at an open house, which we do now too. But it was
still do it. I get it every Sunday.
But it wasn't tactical back then. It was
sure.
Throw rocks at a bird, do your laundry, nurse your hangover, drink a Gatorade, whatever. Just dumb stuff to basically entertain agents. And then we get a ton of shares on Facebook because back then there wasn't really anything like that. But that was where the heart of it was the blog. And then we had some YouTube skits. But the Instagram really started to evolve as I started putting the tweets onto Instagram as screenshots and then putting captions on top of photos and videos, which were, of course, memes.
So good. Yeah, exactly. Well, when you were like starting that piece, did you start to move out of sales at that point, or were you still cold calls?
You think that monetized? No, it still barely has. No, it has now, but no, they fed each other.
Had your sales monetized at that point? I don't know. No, nothing was monetizing.
Nothing was working for me. I remember going to Subway in between these showings and saying, I envy this guy because this guy is making money. Like, this is unbelievable. I'm just spending money every day on gas and sushi
I remember
and
those
sandwiches.
Days too.
And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I was sitting at open houses every Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday. And this market in 2015, 2016 was not like it is now, where stuff was sitting for 3 months, 4 months.
For sure.
So when I'm sitting these open houses and taking 5 hours for the setup and the open house and the sign picking up, and one person comes in, it's the worst thing in the world.
It's the worst thing in the world.
During that time is when I was coming up with all the content because I was scrolling Instagram and would see all these other agents who were crushing it, motivational quotes, just sold, just listed. Like they were all gym influencers somehow. And I just thought, how is everybody in this industry crushing it besides myself?
Yeah.
And that's really was kind of the impetus, I guess, of the Broke Agent is let me take the exact opposite route and share all the grievances and pain that everybody is feeling. It was way darker
brilliant,
back then too.
I mean, I know, but like, I mean, I love like dark humor like that. So it's funny, but I think you guys actually just talked about this week on the walkthrough about like showing the harder side, right? Like, cause everyone's always showing their wins. Everyone's always showing, and we've talked about this across all industry, like, or across, different platforms at times, but like what other industry talks about like a doctor, a lawyer? They're not like, just sign this client, you know what I mean? Where we're like, just listen, and I know that's hopefully going away. We've talked about this a lot where like you need to be doing other things now, right? But it is very hard to sometimes look at that even today and look at what other people are doing, or like, especially if you're new in this industry, to like have to, come into a space where you're just like, I don't even know where to start. And it's like information overload. So having something like what you've started that is a different kind of movement, right? Like we talked about this at BAM, at BAM Mania, where, we want to kind of change that old guard, right? Like the old ways are out, and, it needs to be something that is a little more real and authentic, and collaboration happens at the top. And that's really, I think, where everybody wants to go with all of this. So, I mean, I'm appreciative of it for sure.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it got a lot of pushback at the beginning because
of course,
it was
disruption always does.
It was exposing the incompetency of a lot of real estate agents, and exposing myself too, because every post was coming directly from what was happening in my brain or the experience that I was occurring with a buyer or an inspection or an open house. So it's really hard to manage. Okay, I do have clients. If my clients see that I'm posting about this, they're going to think I'm an idiot. But at the same time, I have to keep doing this because I know that this is kind of the end game over here. But the real estate fed the content fed the real estate. And every single time I experience something, that's where the innovation came from. Not innovation, but that's where the creativeness came from, is the actual action. Now it's a lot harder to come up with the content. Thankfully, I have a lot of people sending stuff, and so many people are posting online that I could kind of figure out what the problems are. But back then it was so easy where I would sit in an open house, 5 different conversations would happen. That's 5 tweets. That's 5, different objections that I'm getting that I could then turn into content. Now I'm just sitting here producing content. It's a lot harder. I'll tell you that.
I know. I mean, it's a new type of hard, right? Like it's completely different. But again, I think, what you are definitely doing is very worthwhile. So we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I had said to you, if you can try to recall, do you have one crazy story or anything that's ever happened, or did you completely trauma block all of it and you just can't remember?
No, I got a couple. They're not like long stories, but the first Brokers Open I ever sat, I remember it was 11. Do you guys have Caravan, Brokers
Oh
Caravan?
yeah. I'm in La
San
Jolla,
Diego?
and we do it every like little kind of area does. La Jolla is one of the biggest ones where it's like there's like 200 people that attend it. It's like I think the most attended one other than like Pacific and Mission Beach.
Got it. So I was sitting an open house for my boss at the time, and it was
For Caravan.
for Caravan. It
Yeah.
was like a $6 million house in
Okay.
Beverly Hills, West Hollywood.
Okay.
And one of the agents in my office, I was, relatively new to the office, came in and said, "Hey, who set up the open house signs?" I was like, "Well, I did." And he said that they were all set up where the arrows were pointed in different directions. He's like, "I'm surprised there's any cars up here and that they're not all just like spinning around outside because they're pointed in a million different directions."
Oh my God.
And I just didn't even think about that. This is the dumbest thing possible, but it was one of the first open houses, if not the first, that I was ever sitting. And I just
You're like, the
didn't
sign is out. I don't
just
know
didn't
what
even
this. Yeah. You're like,
and also,
arrow. I don't
honestly,
see an arrow.
I had no idea where the house was because I hadn't been there before. It was just one of those situations where, my boss had multiple open houses that day.
Yeah.
You go sit this one.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the open house signs were all pointed in different directions. That was,
my
that's
God.
something you never make that mistake ever again. But it's just funny
Never.
to think of these cars going and then the arrow
And
points
they're like,
them in
wait,
the opposite direction.
wait.
And then
Wait, they're like literally just driving in circles like outside. You're like, why is nobody
Exactly.
coming in here? I have sandwiches. I have champagne. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand what's happening.
they're just
That's
driving in
hysterical.
circles. And
Oh
then
my God.
another aspect of just pure incompetence is it was probably 90 degrees in LA. And it was another broker. No, it wasn't a broker's caravan day. It was listing photos day for
yeah.
one of my boss's new listing.
Sure.
And it was my job as a marketing assistant to go in during the photography appointment and then also to write the property description. So the seller was there. I
And
walk
you had some
in.
marketing background, so that's great.
Yeah, but I knew nothing about the houses.
House. Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
no idea. I was a good writer, but I had no idea what a center island. I knew what a center island was. That's probably the only thing I knew what it was. But no
But,
one
like,
taught me the
barely.
features of the
Right.
houses. I couldn't tell
Right.
the difference between a craftsman and a traditional, or like no. Why has no one ever taught us that? Right? That's
I'm
something.
telling you, the real estate license exam was useless because,
Yes.
like, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, no one has ever asked me how many square feet are in an acre. But,
Right.
like, everything
an
else on the
ongoing
job, you're
joke.
just like, yeah, I mean, it's insane the way that we're just, like, meant to, like, license. And then here you go sell someone's biggest asset. It's crazy. Anyway.
Exactly. Before ChatGPT, obviously, where I could have just plugged in the old listing description and said change up a few words.
You would have been great. I know.
So I walk into the appointment. It's 90 degrees. I kneel down for a second to tie my shoe and put my water bottle just up on this cupboard, a wood cupboard. The seller is there, and I take it off immediately. She mentions it to me, saying like, "Hey, take
Yeah.
that off because
Right.
you don't want the condensation
Sweat.
ring."
Right.
I get back to the office later that day. The seller had called my boss and said, "I never want to see that guy again." He came and he permanently damaged my cupboard. It's this expensive cupboard, and he put his water bottle on it. The guy's a complete idiot, basically. And
I don't
I
think
felt
you permanently damaged it,
I mean,
but
she was one of those psycho sellers
yes.
that, it didn't matter what I would do in that
No.
situation, but the
Yeah.
fact that I walked in, immediately had to tie my shoe and put this on, and I was
Dare you.
24 years old,
Yeah.
it just was a bad look. So those are two instances that happen at the beginning of your career where you start to learn these things to know to look for a coaster.
and
then
you're like, I'm out.
Yeah. And then I'll give you one more.
Yeah, please.
I was sitting another open. Notice none of these are my listings. I was sitting another open house for bosses.
Listen, you were brand new. Fair
Exactly.
enough. Fair enough.
Short sale in the Palisades, and this was a seller that was always there. So basically, the second week, not during the open house.
Okay,
but
okay.
He wouldn't leave until 10 minutes into the open house
Yes,
starts, just lingering
yes.
around. He was also like a vape salesman and like prominent, like not prominent, but like a big time pot smoker. So it always reeked in there.
Oh, lovely.
And so I'm walking around the upstairs, opening the windows, just
For
cleaning
breezing
up
it.
a little bit, breezing it, but
Yeah.
for breezing it basically.
Yeah.
And on his bed, laying on the bed, is a silver shotgun that he had there. And this guy was like cuckoo, but it's just laying on the bed. And I'm like, hey, people are coming in here in 5 minutes. I don't know what to do with this thing. I'm not like a gun guy necessarily. So he walks up, and I'm like, can you just please like take this in the closet or something?
take that
Because
somewhere,
people are
please?
about to walk
Thanks.
through. And then I'm down in the foyer with the other person I was in the open house with, and he says like, hey fellas. And then we look upstairs. He's holding the shotgun at us and does a fake like bang bang. And we like dive out of the way because we're already freaked out by this guy, and he starts laughing hysterically.
What?
Yeah.
Behind the Lockbox is sponsored by Property Showcase Group. Property Showcase Group has a team of creatives, directors, producers, editors, marketing specialists, and designers that work in tandem to tell and share stories of the built environment. Whether you're looking for full-service production or simply just need content creation, Property Showcase Group can help take your business to the next level. To learn more or to contact Property Showcase Group to schedule a consultation, you can find them at propertyshowcasegroup.com. That's spelled propertyshowcasegroup.com. propertyshowcasegroup.com. I'm back to talk about our sponsor and producer, Property Showcase Group. This is for all my agent and affiliate friends out there. Property Showcase Group has a special offer for you. The first 3 agents to email Property Showcase Group at teampsg@propertyshowcasegroup.com will get 1 month free of social media management using code LOCKBOX. That's right, 1 month free. And they're offering 20% off your first video production using code LOCKBOX. For more information, contact Property Showcase Group at teampsg@propertyshowcasegroup.com, and don't forget to use code LOCKBOX or mention this podcast.
I hated dealing with this guy more than anybody on the face of the earth.
How many times did you have to see him and go back?
Probably 10, 15 times.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
one of
Were
those
you
that
doing
we're just there every
showings?
week.
Like regular
No.
showings for there too?
No,
Okay, no.
it was
So it
always
was
just
open
the
houses.
Yeah.
And he was there till the very end and
Yes.
and he probably thought that was so funny.
He thought it was hilarious, and it was not hilarious. My heart was slamming through my chest.
Oh
for
my
the
God,
rest
I
of
would've-
the open house.
Yeah, it's
having a gun pointed at me.
That's insane. And you don't know if it's loaded. I mean,
No.
in all seriousness, I mean, if he's that kind of crazy, it very
could've
well
just
could have
shot
been.
us.
Yes.
And then there'd be no
We've-
broke agent, and then there'd be no.
That would be tragic.
This episode would never be happening.
It would never be happening.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a couple guests on that have found guns at showings. One of my girlfriends early on, a year ago, came on and she was like, yeah, we were touring this house in Cardiff, which you know San Diego well.
Yeah.
It's by the water. It's a nice community. And there's a Glock sitting on the back of the toilet tank. And I was like, what did you do? Did you move it? And she's like, no, I don't want my fingerprints on it. And I was like, oh, good call. She's
Smart.
like, I watch too much true crime. I'm like, yeah, that's a very good idea. That's wild, Eric.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That was scary. I wish I had more, but I don't.
I mean, I'm glad you ended with the banger. That's
three
going to
good
make
ones.
us a good
Yeah.
reel. So thank you so much. That'll get
Perfect.
some clicks on social for us. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about
Okay.
BAM. So let's kind of talk quickly about the trajectory. So I don't totally know the entire story. I mean, I went to BAM Mania. I've heard you talk many times. I watch a lot of the BAM content you guys put out, whether it's on YouTube or, social or whatever. But how did you meet Byron? How did you know, how did you guys get together? And at what point did you start Broke Agent Media for everyone out there?
So for those listening, Byron is the co-founder of BAM, which is our media company. He runs the #1 real estate team in Connecticut, and he's speaker, entrepreneur, just a very, very connected.
I need him to come on the podcast.
Smart individual. Yeah, you should.
Yes,
Absolutely. I'm
yes,
sure he
yes,
has a bunch of crazy stories.
Yeah.
I met him at an Inman conference, believe it or not, in 2016.
Oh, wow.
So Byron has been doing real estate podcasting for over a decade.
Yeah.
And he recognized the Broke Agent brand very early and was one of the first people to reach out to me. I want to say it was 2015, maybe 6 months after we started it.
Wow,
and
that's
I went
cool.
on his podcast. I forgot what it was called at the time. But then we just, developed a friendship, and I would basically go to any real estate conference that he was going to, a lot of Tom Ferry conferences, whatever was happening at Vegas, because he was so well connected, knew everybody, and could introduce me to people. And I just liked hanging out with him. We had fun, knocking back cocktails,
great.
just hanging out.
Yeah.
He's got a really fun side to him.
He does, yes.
And it was just always a friendship, mostly a lot in the Tom Ferry ecosystem too, where I was always hanging out with them. And then pandemic hit 2020, and I had started kind of developing the other phases of a potential media company with an email list through lead magnets and ebooks, because I knew, as I'm learning kind of, I can't just have a social first Broke Agent Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Right.
And Snapchat, I guess, back in the day, and then TikTok. But I was like, what's the point of all this? And it's how could I provide more value to the industry on top of the entertainment? And before, I couldn't connect those dots because I didn't know what value I could provide other than laughter, which of course there's value in,
Right, of
because
course.
I was not selling a bunch of real estate. I called
So
myself the broke agent.
this kind of whole time, so between 2015 and 2020, those 5 years, were you technically selling the entire time?
Yeah.
While doing broke agent at the same time?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
okay.
I was selling
okay.
real estate. I was working for a cryptocurrency called Alpha Token. I was writing for blogs, and I was
Jack
working
of
as a broke
all
agent.
trades. Yes.
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 Because I didn't know exactly what direction this was going in.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's hard.
couldn't
It takes
figure
a
out-
little while for it
Absolutely.
to evolve. Yeah. Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out, how to monetize this thing. What do I do? Do I sell merchandise? Do I, invent some product? I have this book, Commission Impossible, Rogue
Yes.
Agent here, which is a cartoon book. I thought that was going to make tens of thousands of dollars. It sold 5 copies. So I was definitely wrong about that. Tons of mistakes.
Is that still
by
on
the way.
Amazon?
It is, but don't
Everybody,
buy it.
go
Don't buy
ahead,
it
homie.
actually, because I think for some reason I get pinged for it. I think I lose money every single time people purchase it.
Stop.
So stay
You're like, you
away
know what,
from
Amazon,
Commission
just
Impossible.
go ahead and like store that for me. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, they
anyway.
need to decommission that thing.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you how it started, really, like the kind of mindset shift is
Yeah.
there's another meme account called Actually Agents. And for some value at home, if you're not following what your competition is doing, whether it's another real estate agent, another media company, you should, because that's how you're going to get a lot of ideas and at least see how they're moving and operating.
For sure.
Actually,
and can
Agents
you
is
do it
now-
better? Can you do something
Correct.
completely different to take it in a better, different direction, whatever it might be?
And can it fuel you too?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
during 2019, whenever he started,
Mm-hmm.
it was like this meme war in my head of how can I outpost him, how can I outgrow him, because now there's someone else in the industry posting funny content.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're good friends. But he posted a Instagram hashtags ebook in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of was my light bulb moment where
Yeah,
I was
the
like,
catalyst.
okay, I know everything about Instagram right now. Agents are always asking me how to get more engagement, what sort of content should they post, how do they get more story views, how do they get
Mm-hmm.
link clicks. So I created an Instagram hacks ebook back in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and it got like 10,000 or something downloads, which is a lot back then.
I want to say I downloaded it.
You might have.
I'm sure I did. Because
Yes.
I started in the business 2016, 2017, and I found you, I want to say late 2018, early 2019. So
Okay.
yeah.
So that's
yeah.
probably right when I kind of started
Yeah.
changing the narrative a little bit, is, hey, I could also help marketing, or at least start giving out free advice. And I knew building an email list was the most important thing to do for any brand that was growing. Morning Brew
Yeah.
started maybe
Yep.
around that time, probably a little bit earlier.
Yep.
But I that kind of got the wheels turning, where it's like, okay, maybe this becomes a newsletter or something. Whatever it is, I have to
sure.
build the database, because
Yeah.
you're so vulnerable on social media
Yeah.
if you don't have your database, because the algorithms change every single day.
Yep.
You don't own the data. You don't own your followers.
I mean,
And
look what happened
tomorrow-
to everybody who was like solely on TikTok or like became TikTok
Correct.
famous, and then they weren't really posting it, or they would like kind of let Instagram post stuff from TikTok. Like, I mean, my God, the world was about to end for them a month ago, 2 months ago.
Yes.
So
Or Vine.
yeah.
I mean, Vine got wiped off the face of the earth. So if
gone.
those people didn't move to YouTube,
Yeah.
then it was done.
Yeah.
So that kind of got the ball rolling in terms of, all right, I'm starting to build these other arms of a
Mm-hmm.
potential media company. Then I started doing something called BNN, which was called the Broke News Network, with
Oh, yeah, I
myself and
remember
a guy
that.
named Ben Fisher, where I
Okay.
would drive to his place in Long Beach, and we would do a 8-minute news style show where it was real estate news, marketing tips, and just humor.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun to do because I hadn't done that much front facing camera stuff
at the
You know,
time, yeah.
I'd put
Everything
out,
was
like,
memes behind. Yeah.
memes,
Yeah.
but I would do the occasional reel and skit
Yes,
where I would show
yes.
myself, but it wasn't really, hey, here I am talking about something that I actually know about, which
For
is
sure.
marketing in the real estate industry.
Right.
So that at least showed me that, okay, I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like that content ever performed super well, but it was just kind of just
It's a stepping
building,
stone.
building
Yeah.
blocks, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you figure out what works, what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on Instagram TV at the time. We should have just uploaded to YouTube, but that was horizontal Instagram TV.
For sure. Yeah.
And again, this is pandemic, which really helped with all of this because everybody's on their phones.
Mm-hmm.
Every Instagram or every agent kind of woke up to the fact that social media is such an important part of your brand and your growth.
Yes.
Everybody wanted to learn TikTok and Reels and Instagram. That was like the thing. It was like the golden age of real estate content creation.
Truly.
Yeah. Like, the
Yeah.
Glenda Bakers started popping up. Like
Yes.
everybody is just
Yeah.
like
We have
finding
nothing
their
else to
own
do.
voice. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Going on Clubhouse, talking about this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it was a really, really fun time.
Yeah, it was. It was.
And then I started the Overask podcast with Matt Leonetti.
Yes.
And who's a hilarious agent who I had started to do some sort of collabs with. And as the Broke Agent started, more and more agents started popping up doing funny content. And I started to befriend these people. And it was great to have finally other voices that were doing this where I didn't feel like I was alone and I could bounce ideas off of. So the Overask podcast started. And then, sorry, I know this is a long answer, but
this is, I mean, and as you're saying all these things, like, I almost not remember like where I was, but like, I remember kind of the time of the industry, right? And like what we were going through. And like, I definitely found Matt through you and, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm thinking back as you're saying this to like, all these different times and kind of where we were. It was, it's the last, and mind you, that was only 5 years ago. Like,
I know.
Feels like 20. So yeah.
It does. Yeah. The last 5 years because of the pandemic have been, especially on the West Coast, have been such a blur.
Yeah.
So Byron and I are still in constant communication throughout all of this. I'd always been talking like, what can we do together? Byron has a media company, has this podcast called The Real Word. He has a big list. He is the go-to guy when it comes to like distilling real estate information tangibly for a real estate audience where
he's so good at it
the
too,
consumer can understand it.
Yes.
And it's like, this is the radio guy. This is the podcast guy. It was Byron, Byron.
Yep.
And we were like, let's build a real estate course, which I know sounds so cliche, but a real estate course for dummies, how to survive your first 5 years of real estate sales. And we filmed the entire thing. Matt Leonetti's in it. So Matt Leonetti and I are acting out the funny skits. I teach social media, like what not to do and social is like my first, here are the things you shouldn't do on Instagram. If a client texts you, probably don't post an Instagram story of you golfing at 2:00 until you respond to him. Like all these kind of things that I know no one had talked about yet.
Right.
And then
you may have learned the hard way or maybe not.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Ruining people's cabinets and such with water bottles. Yeah.
And Byron was teaching the agent strategy side. But then we were like, I don't think this is it. Like selling a course is so cliche, even though this was like completely different, but we knew there was something more.
Yeah.
And then we were looking at the media landscape at the time and we saw kind of the legacy media in real estate and noticed that they hadn't evolved at all when it came to social first content.
Yeah.
So instead of typing in, barstool.com or barstoolsports.com or inman.com, now the way people are consuming media, especially during the pandemic, is social first on
It was all social.
on TikTok, on Instagram.
Yeah.
Inman was not producing any clips, still not producing clips. We saw the same thing with the Housing Wires of the world, just all these like media companies. And we knew that we had the entertainment factor, the humor factor, and that we were good on social. So I flew up to Florida and Byron and I were talking about the course, and it quickly evolved into, we need to start a media company because this space is ripe for the taking when it comes to like a modern day media company taught by not taught, but through actual, led by actual practitioners that are doing what they're speaking about through personalities that the industry is already comfortable with and enjoys.
And that is exactly what it was. Like, listen, I said, I had done the Tom Ferry thing. I am glad to hear that they have evolved so much because it was definitely not for me. And I was really turned off by a lot, actually, unfortunately. It is what it is, right? It's not for everybody. But when you guys came along and started doing some of this media stuff, and I know I said this to you, I don't know if you remember, there was a lot going on at BAM Mania, but at the end, on the way out, I saw you and I was like, this is the only conference I've ever actually gotten anything out of. And I know I said that on our call a couple weeks ago when we were on with our group with Paige, but it is the truth. Like, Eric, I have been, again, since doing this since late 2016, like, I've been to it all. I've done everything that you're saying. I've been to these conferences. I've done the coaching. I've done all this stuff because you just want to you want to be better. You want to, but a lot of the people who were telling me to do these things were not actively doing it themselves or had never done it themselves. And that is where I struggled with the early Tom Ferry stuff is it's like, I know him and his, his dad obviously sold, but like he kind of came through and was working with his dad and he was a coach. And like, yeah, you can teach these things without like having done it, but there's just something more, there's more weight to it. When you guys were actually struggling, it was self-deprecating. It was funny. I remember it made me feel better. I was like looking through some of your stuff and I was like, fuck, I'm not the only one. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm in La Jolla. So like Beverly Hills, I was on a very high performing team my entire career. We were selling anywhere from, $2 million to like $20 million waterfronts. You know what I mean? And so you do feel a little like imposter syndrome, not a little, a lot. And, you know, we all still deal with that some days, of course, but like there was just something to what you guys did and what you have done and are doing that I literally, I tell everyone, like, I'm like, you know, some people are like, oh, I'm like, you guys, if you're not following what they're really doing, like, you're missing out, because like I've been able to scale. I mean, just in the last 30 days of me doing different things on social and diving in with Tessabella and Paige and like just some of these little tweaks that I've made and really watching your guys' stuff every week and implementing it and like I've had literally my Instagram 100,000 views in the last 30 days, my insights. Like,
let's go.
And
That's
74% are not followers.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's working, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And people just don't think like, I have a couple of friends that are like, oh, cold calling, like, you know, that's fine. If you want to do it the old school way, that's totally fine. But you guys saw something in the market and it's working. Like it's helpful, and you need to know that, because, you know, I've almost been doing this a decade, and business is great, but I want to double and triple it. And there's a way in which I want to do it. And I think our personalities are very similar. You know, I also find the humor in a lot of stuff, and I just found my people within BAM and like Paige and like everybody, you know what I mean? It's just been very helpful. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot.
Yep. I know you put a lot of work into it.
Yeah. It's a lonely business.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur. You know, I do it with Byron, and we have our BAM team, which is a, you know, kind of small SEAL team, but you know, behind a computer, you know, sending these emails every day, posting these things, not knowing whether or not people care.
Yeah.
It's
well, you said on
your head a lot.
It does.
Because
And
you're just, you know,
you're
you
putting
put
out stuff that you care. And like
Yeah.
you said on the walkthrough this week, you and Jason were like, can someone please go like this video? And I went on and liked it right then, because like I'm watching, but we do forget. And by the way, it's the same with the podcast. Like, I know I've seen my analytics, like in terms of like listening hours, we're downloaded, we're in 17 countries. Like it was in the top 50% of podcasts, which, I mean, how many podcasts are there now? So like, I'm not really sure what that means, but hopefully it means something good.
Yeah,
but like,
that's awesome.
I'm putting out, this is a passion thing on top, and it's a lot of work, as you know how much work this is.
Yeah,
and to not have like the downloads or the analytics, or like people like, you know, put out a reel that I'm like, this is going to kill. This is such a good, and then it gets like 200 likes and I'm like, what the fuck? And then ones that I don't think are going to perform, I look at, it's like 430,000 views and I'm like, wait, what? Like it's such a mind, you know what I mean? So like to be able to not know, you know what I mean? Like you guys get it too. You're putting out content every week and you have thousands and thousands of subscribers, and people are, I know there's a lot of people listening, but you don't always get that feedback. And so you're just like, is anyone there? Am I just doing this for nothing? Okay, great. You know? So
yeah. Well, it's about the amount of at-bats that you have for that content to eventually take off. And by the way, you're an extremely good host. I don't know if it's just because you've been complimenting me throughout this entire episode.
It was my plan. Just kidding.
I've been on 1 million podcasts. You might be one of the best hosts, if not the best host I've ever had a conversation with.
Thank you.
You have a very natural
I'm kind of hoping this is my take it out of the tough I get it. Like I'm trying to be the next Alex Cooper. You know what I mean? Like, come on, let's go.
Well, for the people at home listening, if you think you're going to start a real estate podcast and start making a bunch of money, take it from me, who's been doing this for years. That's not going to happen.
No, I think we're going to have to turn our podcast into something else. You know what I mean? But like,
the thing is, here's what
at least we're good at it.
About the real estate industry is, you know, 1.5 million licensed, whatever it is, 1.6.
Yeah.
10% do business, less than 10% of those actually consume content.
Yep.
So you're talking to such a small audience.
For sure.
And that's the difficult part, is when you do the walkthrough, the Overask podcast, Real Word, Knowledge Brokers, we have, you know, 5 or 6 podcasts.
Yeah.
And then you look at the views and you're like, okay, 1,500, whatever. That's, you know, amazing because it's built up to that on YouTube.
Sure.
And there's audio downloads and stuff, but it's frustrating because
Yeah.
you spend 2 hours prepping for the show, picking the guests, scheduling it, picking out the thumbnail, doing the YouTube title, writing the description, doing the tags, figuring out the clips to try to get more views on it, sending the email with the podcast. It's a full-time job if you do it once a week.
Yes.
Like, and then imagine
I'm only doing
more podcasts.
I'm only doing it once a week. And
yeah, good. I mean, you shouldn't even be doing it more. You shouldn't, I would say.
No, I can't, because my business also has to thrive. You know what I mean? Like I am still a full-time real estate professional. So like this just and it's so funny because so many people are like, can you tell me like, I love your podcast. Like, how did, you know, I want to start one. And I'm like,
no, you don't.
Okay. No, you don't. Good luck. Same thing when someone's like, I want to be a real estate agent. I'm like,
no, you don't.
No, you
Yeah.
don't. No, you don't. Anyway, maybe
But
we're just saying
also-
that so less competition, but no, you don't.
The good thing about the podcasting too is the conversation. We're actually learning stuff from each
Yes.
other right now too. Like
sure.
the Overasked podcast, I learned 80% of the marketing tactics from the guests that we have. Same thing
Yeah.
with the walkthrough, and then also the
Yeah.
connections you make, whether you're interviewing other realtors or potential clients.
Yep.
It's like if you've been on their podcast, now you have that conversation.
Yeah.
You have their phone number.
Yeah.
It's a thing now. Like
Yeah.
next time I see you at an event, we have this.
100%. And for me, that was a little bit about, again, why I started it. Like I wanted those connections. I wanted, just like how you were going to all those conferences with Byron and like, and there's so many times where I get in a deal with an agent, it goes so great. And I'm like, you got to come on my podcast, or they find me and I'm now starting to get them to DM me and be like, hey, how do I come on your show? And I'm like, come on over, because it's just the collaboration. And now when I see them pop up on the MLS, I'm like, oh, they were on the podcast. I know them and I can show their listing. There's all these different lanes that it can make life so much easier and sweeter. You know what I mean? So it's just something that's fun. So
How long have you been doing it for?
1.5 years.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of our views again, I'm trying to change my mind because it's like at first I was blaming the algorithm, and now I know from you guys that if the algorithm sucks, it's not you, the algorithm, it's you.
That's
so
scary,
I'm
V.
trying to not take that to heart. You know what I mean? But like, I have some that just take off, and we're getting about 2,500 to 3,000 views on average, like per reel on Instagram. But like some of them randomly take off, and the last big one I had was 500,000 views.
Yeah.
And so it was huge, but then the subscribers on YouTube are like 162, and then, downloads are shit because not everyone downloads. And so I'm also feeling that pain with you because I know I have something here and it's the most fun I've ever had. And I love it. And people do say like, I'm good at it. So I want to keep going because I think that there's something to this. I don't, like, you kind of know exactly what avenue this is going to go, but
let's get you on BAM. The BAM
I would
network,
love it.
possibly. Yeah.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that. And I just think that the more people, and now that I'm doing the Riverside stuff, like I can reach everyone across the country. So I am getting agents. Like I had one last night from New York DM me and be like, hey, I'd love to come on. And then actually Luke Akery's brother, their partners, I'm having them on next week because I did Stay Paid with them a couple weeks ago. So it's just, and I met him at BAM because I did the VIP thing at BAM Mania.
I was talking to Luke an hour before this. I was
Oh,
just
you
on
were?
Zoom with him. Yeah, great guy.
I
Everybody should
love
go
him.
listen to the Stay Paid podcast. Check out Reminder Media, friend of the show.
And also, he's got a great magazine. Okay.
Exactly. But I want to say one more thing about the podcast thing, just
Yes.
for a little value, anyone listening.
Yeah.
So much of it, too, is about the title and the thumbnail, as you know,
Yes.
that some of our worst walkthrough episodes will get 3,000, 3,500 views based off of the title.
Yeah.
And we'll have, Ken Pozek on and Tessa on. It'll be like this unbelievable episode that only cracks 1,200 views because for whatever reason, we didn't nail the title and the thumbnail. Because
And
that's
you
how
think
you
you
stop
do.
this.
You
Yes.
think you did. Like as the thumbnails, every reel, I'm like, okay, crack house, will that work? Like, whatever
Right.
the story's about, or like 911, dildo, prostitute. Like, what do I put on here to like get the, you know what I'm saying? Like, because we have those stories on this show. So I'm like trying to do whatever I can. But then even when I think I've nailed it, sometimes I don't. You know what I mean? So it just is what it is. But yeah. So I agree with you there. Okay. Let's see what else. Okay. Do we have, so I think I talked a little bit more, I've said stuff about BAM Mania, but again, for anyone who is not, I know prices just went up for BAM X. However, I know I could, look at me, I could just like be promoting shit for you,
Yeah.
I know. You should hire me anyway.
We'll get you an affiliate code.
That's right. Oh, we should actually. We'll drop that in the show notes. So,
By the way, you have one as a BAMX member. Anybody has an affiliate code.
okay. Well, then I will put that in the show notes for everyone.
Okay.
If you want to join BAMX, we can do that. And do we have any events? I mean, you just had BAM. Look at me. Like I'm already like acting like I like am with BAM. BAM Fest was last week.
Yes.
Alex Hermosi was on.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. I stayed the entire time, like was fantastic. You guys, if you, even if you're in a different industry listening to this, whether it's sale, because Alex is not in the real estate industry, you know what I mean? He's good friends with Sharon, obviously, but like he had so many great insights, and just the way that like Ryan Serhant, for example, okay, I've been a big follower of his since day one. I've met him a few times. He's given me great advice. He's amazing. I've read all of his books, but they translate, right? He did all the sales show for a little while. This also translates. So if yes, it's going to be more real estate gear, but like for people who are just in sales or wanting to get out of their shitty job and like start something else, like the things that you teach in BAM about social, it translates across the board, which is huge.
BAM Fest, we have 4 big digital events every year. We have BAM Fest, BAM Pro Bowl, BAM Barbecue, and then the BAMmies, which is our real estate award show, has completely changed our business because the live virtual events, there's no
How many
overhead.
people were on?
Like 1,800, I want to say, which is...
I would have thought way more than that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to get people to even sign up for free things too, because there's so many webinars and events.
It's true.
That it's like there's almost an oversaturation. So each webinar we do kind of takes away from the next one. So we have a webinar tomorrow with Sharon and Andrew Undum.
I'm registered.
Perfect. A listing presentation workshop. But each one, it's like, oh man, we got 1 week after another. Now the promotion's going to be kind of...
But here's the other thing though, when we register, if we can't make it, or if we have to dip out early for whatever reason, listing appointments, but like actually, so I'm going to join late because Caravan's tomorrow morning and I need to go pitch some new listings that I have coming up, and then I'm going to jump back on. So but don't you guys send replays out too?
Yes.
If you're registered.
We sent them out to everything besides, I think, BAM Pro Bowl. We didn't because sometimes we want people to all be on live and make it kind of like a virtual conference.
But for some of these things like tomorrow with Sharon and everything, like you guys, there's no reason why you shouldn't be signing up. So anyway, okay. Do we know when the next BAM Mania event is going to be? Are we doing Vegas again? October?
It's going to be Vegas Q1.
Q1 next year?
Yes, Q1 next year.
All right.
We have a BAM Camp Arizona coming up in September, which is just going to be half a day kind of for locals in Arizona. I mean, people can go to that. You could travel from San Diego, obviously.
I'll just go stay with my parents, and like that'll be a reason to go home, see my friends, and I'll come.
There you go. But the big one, BAM Mania, will be Q1 of next year in Vegas at the Circle Hotel.
Wait. It was so good. Again, I know I'm going to say this again. Like, I know all these events are crammed down people's throats, and it's like, it's a lot of money to go, and it's the flight, and it's the hotel, and it's, the event itself. But like, it was the actual first time that I ever got anything out of it. I met Paige, Jason and I had great conversation when I was there, and I met Neil Dingra. So if anyone's also not following Neil Dingra, I went and did a 2-day thing with him in Vegas, and he's just phenomenal. It's another mentor. Great. It's the people that you meet and the opportunities that you get from going to some of these conferences. It might not be one of the big speakers that like you meet or get access to or whatever, but like just how you and Byron met, like you could meet someone at the conference. By the way, I stay in touch on Instagram with everyone that I sat with at that front table that day. And like a bunch of us were in those VIP masterminds. We still bounce stuff off each other, or like whenever someone posts something and we'll be like a new photo or whatever, we're like, commenting and things like that. So it's just cool, the community that you can build within that. And again, it's a lonely business. And so I think that that's important. So
the conference is where you meet all of your connections in the real estate industry. Like you
amazing.
Said, that's where I met Byron. That's where I met Dan O'Neill. That's where I met like all of my good friends in this industry is through that. And you just, such a deeper level of connection because you're drinking with them, you're partying with them, and you're like seeing the different sides of all these people. Yeah. If you ever want to see the real side of this industry, go to a real estate conference at 12 a.m. in Las Vegas.
It's very true. That's very true.
See how different these people are during masterminds at 9 a.m. versus after a few old fashions at 9 p.m.
A little unhinged. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But like, whatever. Yeah. Before we go, yesterday on the walkthrough, wasn't it the walkthrough yesterday? Yeah. That went out?
Thursday.
What is this Instagram reel that supposedly had 23 million views?
Yeah, that was a little collab post. This guy,
is it up?
Yeah, it's at like 35 million views right now.
We're gonna have to put that on the YouTube.
Yes, it is.
Is it on your page or is it on
the Broke Agent page? Yeah, I collabed with him. Wait, did this thing get removed?
Oh no! I was gonna say because I looked for it.
Oh no, it's still up.
What is it?
It's an OnlyFans joke by a guy named Cash Alavi. So what I do now, which is great because I certainly did not have this back in 2015, 2016. If I see a post that's doing well from a real estate agent, a comedy post, I'll DM them and say, hey, let's collab on this. And then it gives it that, broke agent boost because of our following. So this guy posted it. I saw it just in my For You page. I was like, this is going to crush. This is edgy and it's just funny. And I messaged him. Now it's at 33 million. So...
I mean, I don't think Jason's had 33 million views on anything. I mean, I haven't.
No,
so,
combine all of his videos together, he hasn't had 33 million or 1 million.
Jason, we love you. By the way, Jason still has not come on. I need to talk to him about that and have him on here. So, yeah.
Well, I'll see him tomorrow, so I'll let him know.
Tell him. Where are you going to see him tomorrow?
Walkthrough.
Oh, duh. Yeah. I was like, wait, you're going to be here in person? Like, what's happening?
No, we're bulk recording a couple episodes.
Love it. Good,
Yep.
good. Dude, this has been fantastic. Oh, wait, hold on. Before we
Yes.
go, we always play a little game called Punch List. It's where I
Okay.
like hit people with like a couple questions, okay? But I'm just going to ask you a couple, two specifically, because I think this is fun for everyone to get to know you. What is your biggest pet peeve? This can be literally anything. Life, work. My list is long.
I think storytelling when the other person is telling you about their work or their problem, and it's hard to care about their work or their problem, no matter who it is, friend, spouse, other agent,
And you wanna care
another
so bad,
agent
but
in
you're
your
like,
office,
I don't.
and they're sucking up 30 minutes to 45 minutes of your time with unnecessary details.
45 minutes.
I mean, you've never had an agent in your office or a title rep like walk in and just start
I've probably been like, oh my God, like
word vomiting.
this is my seller. I got to take this call. I'm so sorry. And then just like
Exactly.
run. You know what
So
I mean?
I would say that if someone is telling you something that has no end to it, that drives me nuts because I'm so
I hear you.
hyper aware. I feel like of social of how I'm socializing with people. that I
Same.
have like a shot clock in my head of okay, am I talking too long?
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yes.
Let's hear what this other person has to say.
You got to read the room, but
Exactly.
Anyway,
So I guess that's my pet peeve.
I like it. I like it. Mine
Yeah.
mostly centers around road rage, but I digress.
Okay.
I'm in a hurry. I got places to go. If you could be anything other than a real estate agent or do any of what you're doing now, what would you do and why? If money was not an object, like what is your dream job?
Yeah, shortstop for the New York Yankees easily.
Love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, yeah. I'd want to be the next Derek Jeter. I'd want to be in the pinstripes. Yeah. Something and anything in sports. That is my true passion.
True passion. Love
Yes.
it. Is baseball your sport or you like all kind of for the most part?
Yankees baseball, USC, college football, Arizona
it.
Wildcats, college basketball.
You mean
but I
Arizona
love all
State
sports.
Sun Devils is what you meant?
Absolutely not.
How dare you?
The Scum Devils.
I think
a
we're going to fight. Oh,
disgusting
these are fighting
organization.
words.
Yeah, absolutely not. ASU is a repulsive institution.
I'm going to just cut this whole thing out from that part of the show and like dub in some AI of you being like, Arizona State is the #1 school.
Oh, please. Well, no one would believe that if I said that.
They wouldn't. They would be like, I think that's AI. And you definitely did not say that. Yeah. Anyway, Eric, thank you so much for being here today. This was a great conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
And
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to come back.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll
Actually,
try to come
no.
up with some more real estate stories. I'll get my
Come up-
license again and then hopefully get attacked or something, and then I could have something funny to
Find
say.
a squatter in a house, go running out screaming, like whatever or just steal some from, Jason or Byron. I'm sure they've got plenty,
Exactly.
And then,
True.
yes, I'm coming on BAM. Now you can't get rid of me. So, there's
Let's do it.
Okay. All right, guys, please do not forget, subscribe to the YouTube. And while you're subscribing to my YouTube channel, head on over to the Broke Agent and BAM Mania, or no, I'm sorry, not BAM Mania, BAM, and subscribe there as well, please. Follow us on Instagram at Behind the Lockbox. Also,
At the Broke Agent, at Now BAM on Instagram. Follow our media company.
There we go.
And we'll see you at BAM Mania in Q1.
That's right. And if you could leave us both a kind review and download our show, we'd greatly appreciate it. You know what I mean? We work really hard at this. So anyway, thanks for listening, guys.
Anything else you want to ask him to do? Follow us on Instagram, leave a review, subscribe to our YouTube channels. The key is, folks, if you want to have people do something at a video, you give them one call to action. So if it's an Instagram video, you say, share this with a friend who also does this. If you say like, comment, subscribe, do this, they're not going to do anything. So everybody listening right now will do nothing.
And I'm going to go make them do it anyway because I'm threatening with them in their lives. You know what I mean? Okay, guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Behind the Lockbox is produced and edited by Property Showcase Group. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or review this podcast. Thanks for your support. See you next week.